It is a truth universally acknowledged that when one turns 27, they may be in want of a Jane Austen themed birth year. I had to do it. Hi, my name is Talitha. I am turning 27 in 3 days. I'm filming this on May 25th, 2025. My birthday is May 28th, 1998, obviously, because I am turning 27, and as you probably know, that's the famous quote from Pride and Prejudice 2005 film adaptation. I have it here in front of me. I'm 27 years old. I have no money and no prospects. I'm already a burden to my parents, and I'm frightened. So I was really hoping to go to the Jane Austen themed ball this year in Bath. I set an alarm and everything. It sold out in 10 minutes, which is so unfortunate. Didn't get off the wait list, I guess. Yeah, no ball for me this year. It was Persuasion themed, and that's my favorite novel, and I'm turning 27, and it's her 250th birthday this year. It just all felt like 250th birthday, by the way, in 2025. She's so cool. She planned all this out, I'm sure. And anyways, even though I can't make it to that ball, hopefully I'll find another one this year. I'm gonna order the cake, obviously, and I wanted to start this YouTube channel. I've been wanting to do it for a few years now, or this YouTube series, I guess, where I read all of her novels in the order that she wrote them and just kind of talk through them, because I have a lot of thoughts and feelings about everything she writes. Maybe other people will see it and have thoughts and feelings they want to talk about too, because I don't know enough people that love her like I do. And yes, or it will just help you with your project at school, maybe. I don't know. I had to read all of Jane Austen's novels in the order that she wrote them when I was at university. English major, obviously. And dramatic art. And philosophy, politics, and economics minor. So all of that is going to play into how I read her work. My professor was Professor Inger Brody at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. She's amazing. She got me very obsessed with Austen. And, I'm getting goosebumps now. Oh my god. Austen's work is just so good. And so I'm going to start today. I'm not going to read the books in publication order. They're published, here, I'll read how they're published. So Sense and Sensibility was published in 1811. Pride and Prejudice was published in 1813. Mansfield Park was published in 1814. Emma in 1815. Northanger Abbey and Persuasion were both published in 1817 after her death. So I'm not reading it in that order because I liked reading it in the order that she wrote them, and it just shows so much of her growth as a writer. And if you read it in that order, then you get to end on Persuasion, which is my favorite novel, and for many reasons, but the last sentence in that novel, it's worth the wait. It's worth the wait. Okay, so I'm going to be reading from, this collection. Oh, is it backwards? Well, it's a really pretty cover. My aunt gave me this book for Christmas one year, and I'm going to read out of it, but I actually, when I was at university, read from this one, so all of my old notes are in there, so I'm going to keep it by my side so I can read my old thoughts. And I believe, the order of the books in this one are just not even in publication order. I don't know why they organized it the way they did. Yeah, Or maybe they are. Actually, I think they are. Sense and Sense. Well, no, they're not. But this one includes Lady Susan, while this one does not. And I actually have never read Lady Susan. We skipped that one in my class for some reason. Maybe there was just too many. And that one's, I believe, a shorter one anyway. But actually, that is why I remember Professor Brody saying it's a shorter book. You can read it on your own. So I'll do that now, Professor Brody. And anyways, I'm going to start with this introduction because I just thought it was a bit interesting. So, oh, and you can see the pretty famous portrait of her at the beginning. The other collection doesn't have it. And I actually do have a few of the individual books on my bookshelf back there. It's probably easier to read from those. But I will. So it is a truth universally acknowledged, of course we all have to do that a collection of the novels of Jane Austen must be in want of an introduction. And if you don't know, that's a reference to the opening line in Pride and Prejudice. That's why everyone puts their own spin on it. The task is not an easy one, since, despite her enduring popularity, Jane Austen was writing in a world and for an audience that were vastly different from today's. This brief essay is intended to introduce the reader to the life, which actually I disagree, it's not vastly different from today's, but okay. This brief essay is intended to introduce the reader to the life and times of Jane Austen and show how even though her themes, love, friendship, gossip, and the difference between appearances and reality, are eternal, the circumstances her characters must contend with were particular to her time and place. Moreover, the ways in which Austen dealt with the unequal status of women in her time, both in her work and her own life, have led many to claim her as a feminist before her time. Her heroines were not mere background in a drama where men move the action, or stock characters who behave stereotypical ways. Far from it, in fact. Elizabeth Bennet, Emma Woodhouse, Marianne Dashwood are their own people. They have thoughts, feelings, preferences, and judgments. In Emma Woodhouse's case, sometimes foolish ones. In this emphasis on women's subjectivity, their internal lives and experiences, her influence on women as readers and writers of fiction have been immense. As a writer, I agree. But Jane Austen was not precociously modern, rather, she did what women in similar positions have done throughout the ages. She strategically managed her talents and advantages to make her way in the world. Isn't that pretty? Well, there are several sections to this introduction. I'll just read that part, and maybe in the following videos, I'll start, like each of the next following videos, with a section of that introduction, just to get a sense of who she is. And I'm not going to read the books. This isn't an audiobook. If you want to read an audiobook, at least I'm going to start with Northanger Abbey. That is, as far as I can tell, her first completed novel. That should be the order in which she wrote them in. I will explain that now. My dogs are in the room, so if you hear noises. So, according to the Jane Austen Society of North America, their website, it's a bit confusing because she started some books and didn't finish them or revised them later, right? She actually, it seems, started Pride and Prejudice. Spots, are you almost done? He's making his bed. It seems like she started Pride and Prejudice in 1796, so before Northanger Abbey, but of course later revised it, and so yes, in 1798 to 1799, it looks like that's when she at least finished Northanger Abbey, if not started and finished, I'm not sure. But there's Northanger Abbey, Then it seems that there is Lady Susan and Sense and Sensibility, Pride and Prejudice, Mansfield Park, Emma, and then Persuasion. And of course, Sanditon. I need to look up how to say that, but that one was never finished. And so I also need to watch that show. I think that they made that into a show recently. So that's the order. I'm starting with Northanger Abbey. The audiobook that I listened to kind of get a sense of like the tone indication of how words, because sometimes, it's written in English that's not as common today, or I guess not really used today. So sometimes it can be hard to tell if something's a joke, but the audiobooks really help. That's the one I'm listening to on Spotify. The first chapter is literally just 9 minutes. I highly recommend listening to it as you read along. And I suppose I'm just going to use this as an introduction video for my series, and in the next video I will talk about the first chapter because I've read it already and it's a lot of thoughts already in just that short little chapter. So if you want to stick around and maybe learn something about Jane Austen or converse about your thoughts and opinions on her work, I think she's incredible. I think that everyone should study her, whether or not you're an English major. She has influenced so much of my writing, and I just think, God, she's incredibly admirable. The way that she has become such an icon, and just as big as an icon as Shakespeare. The way that Shakespeare is known, Jane Austen is known. The way that his classes are taught at universities, her classes are taught at universities. And she has garnered that fame, and it's better than fame, that admiration, that renowned respect. She's garnered all of this, admiration in half the time. She's not as old as Shakespeare, and that he had many, many years to garner popularity, and she did that immediately. And so there's a lot of politics surrounding her work and the ways she shows up in different countries at different times of their histories. So we'll get into all of that. Something I find fascinating and think about often is how my professor said that she actually had more male students in her class in the early 2000s to study Jane Austen. It was about half and half, like girls and boys, and in her classes. And nowadays, I know in my class, we only had one boy. And so I just think that's quite fascinating to keep in mind. Men, please study Jane Austen. I implore you to find inspiration in her work, find respect, admiration, because she has so much to say. We, as non-men, have a lot to say and don't often get that respect, and I just think it's fascinating that her male students have declined over the past 20 years, and I think that just goes to show how progress is not linear with time. Time does not guarantee progress. Action does. And so the idea that, 20 years ago, men were finding women worthy of being learned from, now that's declining. I think that that's a huge reflection of the way that feminism, the state of feminism at the moment, and the state of male respect towards women has declined immensely over the past 2 decades, and where you think it would have grown, but it seems that it has not. And if it has, it's quiet right now. We need men to be loud about their love and respect for women, and admiration and a desire to learn from women as leaders and writers and observers of the world that I think Jane Austen is. She is an incredible observer of the world who had little formal education, which I also think goes to show how formal education does not necessarily correlate with talent or ability, because she is just overflowing with it. She's a great observer of the world. A way she can observe people and analyze their micro movements and I guess micro expressions and how that reflects their feelings. It's really incredible. So I will stop rambling now. I didn't make a plan for this video. I kind of just started it because I want to post it today. But I'm excited for this journey and whoever I meet on it. So, okay. Good night, everyone. See you in the next video, which I'm gonna record probably right now.